We conceived the island walk as a Camino-like experience. It's 700 kilometers long. Took us a little more than a month to walk it. 31 days. We walked it in October of 2019 with the intention of having it a thing by 2020, and then COVID came along. So it's sort of been delayed, except for the occasional islanders who've tried walking it. And we've had about 10 people walk it this past summer, but we were locked down for most of the summer, so it didn't turn into a thing. But it's certainly an interesting walk. It goes around essentially the perimeter of the island. And let me tell you a little bit more about it.
Wow.
So just to give it a bit of context, when we did the walk in October 2019, it was just after a very serious hurricane hit PEI. And we had a lot of hurricane damage. So the hurricane was in September, and we were trying to do this walk in October. So we had a fair amount of nasty weather, but nothing really serious enough to stop us. We had a fair amount of trail maintenance to do because Island Trails, the organization that I belong to, also does. We maintain about 8 woodland trails, and this is what it looked like after the storm. And you may have heard of Sonia Richmond and Sean, her partner. They were just undertaking to walk across PEI. They're doing the Great Trail. They finished Manitoba this year, so you can see this is what they experienced in the first 7 kilometers of walking, about 150 down trees. But several days later, the trees were all cleaned up, which is a good promotion for the PEI government who maintains the trail. So we started on October the 1st, and we started in Joe Giz Park, which is right in Charlottetown. And you can see there's the rest of the Great Trail, what it looks like. And this is the Charlottetown waterfront where we set off from. This is what it looked like around the 1st of October. And this is what the Confederation Trail looks like. So most of the walk, 350 kilometers, is along this Confederation Trail. And that's what our daily stops look like. So we started off in Charlottetown, which is actually number 32 on this map. And we headed west and went around that way. And that red line is our route. I'll talk more about the route a little later. So day 1, we headed to Dunedin, and day 2 was in Victoria. We're doing about 20 kilometers a day, 20 to 25, depending on the day. And as you'll see from my book, those of you that have the book already, we ended up staying with very kind people in PEI who reached out and offered accommodation to us 25 of the 30 nights. We stayed in B&Bs for 5 nights, but other nights we just stayed with locals. They would come pick us up on the trail and take us back to the trail in the morning, which is amazing.
Wow.
There's Victoria by the Sea, lovely little town with a theater and a chocolate factory and several other things. This is what it looked like the day we were walking. And I'm hearing a dog barking. I expect the rest of you are too. This is also in Victoria by the Sea. This photo was taken in the spring the following year because they didn't have a very good picture that day before the green grass. And this is what it's like when you leave Dunedin. So I don't know what you imagine when you think about PEI. For those of you who've been there, you know there's a lot of beaches, but there's also a lot of red dirt roads, and we used those red dirt roads as much as we could. So about 25% of the route, about 175 kilometers, is on these red dirt roads, and they're absolutely beautiful, as you can see. So you're on the Confederation Trail, or you're on red dirt roads, or you're on beaches, or you're on the shoulder of secondary roads. That's what the route looks like.
Hmm.
And here's another one of the roads shortly after we left Dunedin. This is the McEachran Road, and lots of hiking trails through all this area as well. Day 3 led us to Tryon. This is what you will see from the road. You can see the water off in the distance, the ocean off in the distance there on the right-hand side. On this side, you're seeing the Northumberland Strait. And the other thing that that I wanted people to be aware of is there are lots and lots of little churches. Big churches too, but lots and lots of little ones. And you'll walk by these churches as you're going. This one is right on the trail. This is the church in Tryon. And this is the Fab Four that did the whole trail. We actually had 5 of us most of the time, but one of our walkers was unable to do the entire route. But these 4 did the whole thing. And I'm on the end there, and the woman with the hat is my friend Nora, and Nora and I stayed in local accommodations every night. And the other 2, Marion and Dan Grant, they did something a little different, which is they drove their 2 cars and kept leapfrogging their cars. So they went home a lot of nights, and the nights they didn't go home, they stayed in cottages, which I know that Wilma has considered as an option too. And that's something that's very, very doable if you decide to go that way. Here's the Confederation Bridge, which is the longest bridge in the world over ice-covered waters. The Northumberland Strait is frozen right now. And this is again back on the Confederation Trail. These trails keep motorized vehicles off the trail, so it's a non-motorized route. And part of our reason for actually doing the Island Walk was to impress upon the government how important it is to keep this thing non-motorized. So when you're building a trail like the Confederation Trail, there's a lot of pressure from motorized groups to get on there. And the PEI government, no matter what political stripe, has managed to avoid allowing shared use with motorized users. This trail, by the way, goes right through the center of Summerside PEI. So we're right in the middle of the city at this point. And this is along the shore in Summerside. That's Summerside off in the distance. And this is downtown Summerside. Still looks pretty rural, as you can see. And these are this is the crew that was cutting trees along the way. An all-female chainsaw crew. This is what they were cutting. So you can see they were fairly busy at that stage. We're now almost at the western tip of PEI. And this is the longest straight stretch on the trail, 11 kilometers long. This is one of the spots where we stayed along the way in Cape Wolf. And this is a potato harvester. So we were walking while the farmers were clearing their field in mid-October. And there's a lot of potatoes on PEI, as I'm sure most of you know. A little further along, it's the ocean there in the background. And we're heading up to the western tip of PEI. And this is the North Cape. The road there turns into this dirt road. And there's a boardwalk that Island Trails maintains at the end of the dirt road. So the route takes you along that boardwalk. And the boardwalk is here on the left. You can't quite see it, but this is North Cape, which is a windmill farm at this point. And then back down the other side, it's also the end of lobster season at the end of October. And our Octobers are getting more and more mild. This one, this past year was exceptionally nice. Beautiful time of year, really, in PEI. Also, the same little port in Anglo-Tignish. This is one of the lovely old churches. There's a gorgeous old pipe organ in this church, made in Montreal, mid 1800s. Spectacular old church. We had a tour. There's up there on the front of on the left, there's a story about miracles that have happened in the church. Fascinating tour from the custodian of the church. Took us through it. And this is another one of the Catholic churches along the way. This one is in Mimnagash as we start down the other side of the island. A few other churches along the way. And I should say that one was taken also in the spring, which is why you see the snow. This is in Portage, our most rainy day. I had twisted my ankle on this day, so I got to take pictures, and I didn't actually walk this day. Back on the Confederation Trail after a bit of a rainstorm. And the trail, as I mentioned, goes right through Summerside. This is housing along the old rail trail in Summerside. And the woman on the right with the backpack with the maple leaf has walked the Confederation Trail in both directions. So she did a 900-kilometer walk, and we met her as we were walking along. She wanted to join our walk. So we're just outside of Kensington, PEI. I'm back on one of the dirt roads. This one is in Long River. We walked through the PEI National Park, and they had some road construction going on, so we ended up walking around the road construction. It's quite an adventure, as you can see. And that's the view from the beach in the Prince Edward Island National Park. Another one of the beaches in that area. Next is Rustico, which is right next to the national park near Cavendish. And this one is in one of the little communities, Cimbria, along the road. And then this is walking. We had a couple of windy and rainy days. This was a very, very windy day. So we were walking in PEI National Park. You can't see Dalveigh by the Sea. It's a beautiful old, much like Algonquin, the Algonquin Inn in St. Andrews, New Brunswick, right on the left there, but it's out of the picture view. Then back onto the Confederation Trail on Mount Stewart, Bear River, and then finally to Elmira, which is the end of the rail trail. As you can see, every morning, we were getting so much publicity at this stage from the CBC that people were joining us every day. We'd start every day at 9 o'clock, and we had more and more hikers joining us as we walked. Some of this crew, about 4 of this crew, have done the Camino, and the others are just local walkers. We deviated off the route here to, and I mentioned this in the book quite a bit, it's possible to get out to the beaches quite frequently. I'd highly recommend it. The route goes along here, the official route, but we went out to the beach, and I explain in the book how to do that, to East Point, and it's a gorgeous beach. So I would highly recommend you do that as often as you can on this walk. I'm trying to turn that off. There we go. So this is the East Point Lighthouse off in the distance. You may have seen pictures of Cavendish Beach, but there are 50 beaches in PEI, and most of them look like this most of the summer. There's hardly anybody on a lot of these beaches. This is the Basin Head Beach, which is one of the most popular, but we're walking in October. So in the summer, you'd see lots of kids jumping off this bridge, but we didn't see a soul. And this is what it looks like in the early spring, with still a bit of snow around. Fortune River, when you aren't looking at ocean views, you're going to see a lot of these river views along the way. And people talk about experiential tourism. Well, we had lots of experiences. We stayed with 2 lobster fishermen along the way, and And this lobster fisherman also owns a blueberry operation, Edwin McKee. So we stayed with Edwin and Frida. Frida is a hiker, and they wanted us to learn how to operate the loader. So this is what the loader looks like for trucking trees and clearing bush. And by the time we got to Cardigan, you can see we had quite a crowd. We had 27 in this photo, and we had up to 50 walking with us some days. This is entering Montague, which is next to Cardigan. This is the shortest day. It's about a 10-kilometer walk, all on the rail trail. It's absolutely gorgeous. We're getting close to Halloween. So we're walking along the road there on the left in Gaspereau, and this is a local person who had a bit of a Halloween display. This is one of our stops, our lunch stops along one of the secondary roads on the route near Murray River. And then after Murray River, we're back on the rail trail again. So we continue along the Confederation Trail. That we're standing on the Confederation Trail right there. You'll see from the book, those of you that have it, that the rail trail route deviates a little bit at this point. I explain how that works, and the map illustrates the deviation. And then we're back in Stratford, which is on the outskirts of Charlottetown, with 17 joining us that day on a very rainy day. And then back in Charlottetown. That's our route around the island. Those are the daily walks marked in color. And we were on the front page of The Guardian that night, which was kind of amusing. So where have we gone since then? This is the main basilica in Charlottetown. We've met with the bishop. We've talked to a number of the people in the various segments of the church to see if we can get the church to take a more active role. I think there's a will to do that, but I don't think the bishop is actually going to be establishing this as an official Camino route, at least not until we see a lot more walkers, but there's interest. And we've met with the bishop twice or three times on this. So I think there's a substantial amount of interest, not just from the Catholic Church, but from other churches as well. And we've also been trying to develop it into a bit of a product. So we're calling it the Island Walk, as you know. And we've developed, since I did this slide presentation, a website, which many of you have probably seen. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. We've got a signage plan, and these are what the signs will look like. And we've also got a meal and accommodation plan. I've got a spreadsheet, which I'll gladly share with any of you, about places to stay along the way. There are 1,800 licensed accommodations in PEI, so there's no shortage of places to stay. And in 2021, we hope to be ready to welcome you.
Oh.
So that's my presentation in a nutshell. I'm going to just take you to a couple of pages on the website, so you get an idea. The website we're very, very happy with. This is what it looks like. And it seems to be loading without any problem, so I don't think there's going to be need, Wilma, for us to turn anything off. Come back different. So circumnavigate PEI in 32 sections, 700 kilometers. We've divided it into, of course, the 32 days, but also various itineraries. So you can check on the itinerary section here and see what is available in terms of daily walks. And if you click on any of these days, it'll describe what you're going to see on that day in your itinerary. So this describes what you'll see on this particular itinerary. and places to see, interesting things to do, that sort of thing. And there's also a map, and the map will show you not just the route, but places to stay along the way. And you'll see it's an interactive map. So you can click on accommodations like this one, and it'll tell you a place you might want to stay in Tignish. And you can click on the link, or you can call the folks and find out what it costs to stay there. And I'll talk more in the discussion about what I would recommend you do in terms of accommodation. And the other thing I wanted to highlight to you is there's also another map that was developed separately from our website that allows you to, if you just want to look at the map and don't want to be bothered with other stuff, you can click on any of the days. It's an interactive map, so you can get a lot more detail. And you can also, if you want to, click on this button here, and it will locate you. If you have data on your phone, it'll locate you exactly where you are on the route, so you never have to worry about getting lost. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back to see you all.